very latest from around the world and here at home this Thursday lunchtime. It's the ITV News.
The Defence Secretary resigns after a row with the Prime Minister over military spending. In breaking political news this lunchtime, John Healey has accused Sir Keir Starmer and the Treasury of being unable and unwilling to commit the resources the country needs to defend itself at a time of rising threats. What does it mean for our armed forces, for the much-delayed defence investment plan, for the Prime Minister and the Chancellor? Also ahead. The hero of Belfast on why he got out of his car to try to stop the brutal attack that sparked riots.
It's normal for what I feel somebody should do to see someone in need of help. I don't think that's heroic, that's just what someone's reaction should be.
100,000 reasons to warn your child about using Snapchat, how paedophiles are using the app, what Snapchat has said in response, and what parents can do. The shame and scale of NHS corridor care. The first official figures show nearly 3,000 patients a day are being treated in clinically inappropriate areas.
Pace. Rogers, carried away, steered home by the arch-puncher, Ollie Watkins.
Good afternoon. The Defence Secretary John Healey has resigned from the government. In a letter to the Prime Minister, he said he was left with no other option after he says the Prime Minister and the Treasury have been unwilling to give the military the funding they need. Our political editor, Robert Peston, joins me now. Breaking news this lunchtime. Take us through what has just happened and what it might mean.
Well, this is incredibly serious for the Prime Minister, and arguably very serious for all of us as well, and I'll explain why. The Prime Minister says that his primary duty, and I don't know how many times I've heard him say this, but he repeatedly says his primary duty is to keep the nation safe. His Defence Secretary has quit today, and he's published a letter in which he accuses the Prime Minister of not keeping the nation safe enough. And it's all about the increased funding that defence needs in the face of threats from Russia, Putin, but all over the world. I mean, the instability in Iran is, another sign to us of how fragile the world is, how great the risks to us are. Now, over a year ago, there was something called a Strategic Defence Review. That came up with recommendations about how to improve our defences, and we had been waiting for something called the Defence Investment Plan, which was this programme of increased expenditure on all sorts of different aspects of defence. Now, John Healey says that he's got the plan on Monday, and what shocked him is that the increased funding for the armed forces just was not, in his view, adequate enough, because we already knew that by next year we would be, the government would be spending 2.6% of our national income on defence. It has a target of spending 3.5% by 2035. John Healey's view is that in order for that to be remotely credible that our defence spending is going up, that we have to spend 3% by 2030. That would have meant finding 18 billion extra pounds. But he says that actually all the Prime Minister was able to come up with was a few billion, so that actually the increase between 2027 and 2030 would have been from 2.6% to 2.68%. And anybody who's done, O-level or GCSE at school knows that's a tiny increase. And John Healey said on the basis of that, he could not stay in post because, he felt that he would not be able to do his job properly, would not be able to keep us safe. Now, what does it tell us about the Prime Minister? Well, the fundamental thing it tells us is he does not have the authority over his ministers that you would expect of a Prime Minister, because he was leading the effort to get this money by effectively telling other departments to make savings, right? To make savings to fund the defence increase. And in the end, he has proved himself unable to force those other departments to come up with the savings that are necessary. So as an undermining of the authority of the Prime Minister, this resignation is incredibly serious. Now, I mean, I'm sort of struggling to think, Prime Minister has not yet made any comment, and I'm struggling to think what he can say to prove against the backdrop where his authority has already been undermined by the number of MPs and ministers who actually want Andy Burnham to take over. We know that, this is by-election going on, Andy Burnham not yet an MP. But as a result of the events today, I think the Prime Minister will be deeply concerned that if Andy Burnham were to win that by-election and win it handsomely, I think the Prime Minister's time in office will be very short indeed.
Just a week until that by-election. Robert Peston, thank you very much. Thank you. The man who bravely intervened in the Belfast knife attack has denied his actions were heroic and said it was a natural reaction to rush to the victim's aid. Matthew Maternahan was in the car with a friend when they came across Stephen Ogilvie being stabbed in the middle of the road in North Belfast. The pair leapt out the car to help, and he used his son's hurling stick to try to stop the suspect. Ellie Pitt spoke to the man dubbed the hero of Belfast.
Matthew was driving with his friend, who said they should take a shortcut. And that's how they ended up on a street on Monday night and came across what they thought was a fight.
Andrew's straight out of the car. He's run across the road, shouting, trying to break it up. I haven't even stopped the car yet, so the car's still rolling. He's already run out. So as I've stopped the car, Andre started to run back, going like, get me something quick. So I've just opened the boot. Andre's running around the back looking for the hurl. He couldn't locate it because obviously it was me to put it away. So by this point, I've then stopped the car, get out, run around, grab the hurl, and I've just run straight across.
This video of the alleged attack, too graphic to show in full, captures the moment Matthew used the hurling stick to try to stop the suspect.
It's not in me sort of to think that I need to run. It's, right, well, you need to sort of deal with it head on. So I think that's probably why I've just went ahead.
People have described your actions, that decision to step in that moment, as heroic. What do you make of that?
It's normal for what I feel somebody should do if they see someone in need of help. I don't think that's heroic. That's just what someone's reaction should be. Will assist those in danger. I think that's it. Now, it needs to be called a hero. I just don't consider myself one.
The stabbing of Stephen Ogilvie has sparked disorder in Belfast. Last night, police used water cannons on rioters throwing bricks and petrol bombs.
No one wants to see their city being burnt down, or cars being burnt, or people losing homes or valuables. But at the same time, those protesters just want to be heard. And if there's no one hearing them, then I think that's what it sort of leads to at the minute.
He's not been able to speak to Stephen, who's in hospital, but Matthew has already decided thousands of pounds raised to show appreciation for his bravery will go to Stephen instead.
I expect he'll want to say a big thank you to you.
If it was one of my family members sitting there, I would like to hope that somebody would be in the same position and protect them and try and help them if I couldn't. So I don't need any type of thanks from him or his family. Just as long as he makes a full recovery, then there's enough thanks there.
There has been huge pride in Matthew, including from his children who made this poster for their dad. To them and many others, he has a new title, the hero of Belfast. Ellie Pitt, ITV News.
16 people have been arrested and 12 police officers have been injured after a second night of violence in Belfast. Police used water cannon on rioters as officers were pelted with bricks and petrol bombs by balaclava-led people in County Antrim on the outskirts of the city. Our correspondent Geraint Vincent is in Belfast this lunchtime. Geraint, what's the latest?
Well, the consequences of that dreadful knife attack on Monday evening continue to reverberate around this city, and they are increasingly disturbing in nature. A healthcare trust here in Belfast has described a racist attack on one of its nurses, who was, they say, chased and intimidated on her way into hospital last night. The Royal College of Nursing we've spoken to this morning, they said that some of their members on their way into work were stopped and asked for their credentials at checkpoints manned by gangs of masked men. The PSNI, the Police Service of Northern Ireland, have been responding to this morning. Here's what the Assistant Chief Constable had to say.
I want to turn next to the disgraceful threats and intimidation directed to our nurses, doctors, carers and healthcare staff. Men and women who work every day to save lives and care for our sick relatives. They're the backbone of our public service. They're caring for our families, our friends and our loved ones. We're increasing our patrols in and around hospitals in a reassuring way to help those people.
I'm outside a shop here in South Belfast which was attacked last night. All the big stores and the pubs and the restaurants in the centre of the city were closed down last night in anticipation of disorder. All the trains and buses were cancelled from about 5:30 onwards. And, remember that Belfast is a city which positions itself, still has ambitions to be a global hub for business and tourism. And the fact that so much disruption can be caused by gangs of masked thugs is a reality which the authorities here are having to reckon with this week.
Gavin, Vincent, thank you very much. Thank you. CCTV has emerged showing the moment a masked suspect firebombed the home of an imam before running away. The footage captures a person smashing the window of a house in Bolton yesterday evening before throwing a lit substance inside. Emergency services said all occupants were evacuated with no injuries and the fire was extinguished. The social media app Snapchat is being used by paedophiles and violent criminals to target thousands of children a year, some as young as 7. An ITV News investigation has found that across 37 police forces there were more than 100,000 offences linked to the app over the past 5 years, including multiple cases of rape and sexual assault. Our investigation revealed how the online often transfers to the offline, with paedophiles repeatedly using Snapchat to locate children in real life. Among recent victims was 11-year-old Sophie, whose name we have changed to protect her anonymity. She was sent explicit photographs by a man who used a fake name and claimed to be 19. Sophie's mum says it's had a huge impact on her daughter.
We had to get security cameras around the house because she was petrified, absolutely petrified. These apps are putting our children in danger daily.
You can watch the full report on the ITV News website and on YouTube. In response to the investigation, Snapchat told us the stories shared by these families are devastating. Sexual exploitation is an abhorrent crime and we are working hard to combat it, including by continuously evolving our safety mechanisms as criminals change their tactics. We also work closely with the police and safety experts to keep activity like this off our platform and to bring criminals to justice. Our goal is to create a safe environment for our community. Well, let's get more from the cybersecurity expert Jake Moore. Thanks for coming in. What does Snapchat need to do? It's said it is trying to create a safe environment. Is that even possible?
Well, this is not a new situation. It's been going on for years. Since it came out, it was designed with this disappearing messages from the get-go. And so I think they need to work more with parents and teach the parents how children are using the app. And I think actually if parents can start by downloading the same apps as their kids, they might get used to the privacy and security settings much more. Now, Snapchat will offer this setting called Family Center, which is a great start. It means you can send a request to your children, and as soon as they accept, you can then see who they're speaking to, but you don't get to see the messages, so you still keep that trust. But I think that's really important for parents to understand that their kids might be speaking to people out there, so to keep that privacy all locked up, and they won't be able to speak to people that they don't know.
Okay, so if your child is on Snapchat and they are on the kind of the strongest privacy settings, does that mean your paedophile Mr. So-and-so can't actually see where they are.
Yeah, hopefully, but I think many times that we see kids might start with the best intentions with privacy and security, but then they might get the peer pressure from their friends to show where their location is, which is a very popular part of it. So it's, again, important for parents to check their Snapchat and make sure they aren't giving out their location in real time, which is a big factor to the report we've seen, and that's called ghost mode, and that can really help just keep children thinking about their privacy first.
Yeah, there's no point in grown-ups sitting here saying we should just turn location services off, because the kids want it. They want to go online and see where so-and-so is, what so-and-so's up to. That's a huge draw for Snapchat, isn't it?
Yes, so it's not just Snapchat alone. There are other parental controls you can have with your phone. So we know that children are becoming more addicted to their phones. So there are things like app limits that you can put in the parental controls. Maybe that be half an hour or an hour a day, for example, per app. And it's all about that open discussion. So by speaking to your children about why you're doing this and teach them about those risks, then the kids themselves can fully understand the problem.
Would these risks go away if the government just bans social media for under 16s?
I don't think so. I think it's more about that open conversation with them. By banning them, it pushes them to other apps that we don't necessarily have complete control over, and newer apps tend to come out with different designs in mind. So at least there are those privacy features on sale within them, and then hopefully we can all learn together about them.
And how difficult is it to have these conversations with children? And especially your key advice is you download whatever app they're on, so you use it yourself to see what they're seeing. But that's quite difficult to say to a teenager, you can only have that if I'm on it too. And they certainly don't want to follow you.
No, so that is the big issue here. And it depends on different ages. There are limits, age limits within different apps. So Snapchat, for example, is over 13. But we know that...
but we've just heard about 7-year-olds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there are other apps in mind and with more privacy-focused features that are available. So again, open that conversation with your kids as to why will always be better.
Okay, Jake Moore, thank you very much for all that sage advice. Really appreciate it. And if you've been affected by any of the issues discussed here or in the investigation, there is advice and support on our website, itv.com/helplines. Nearly 3,000 patients every day in England were cared for in hospital corridors or makeshift treatment areas last month. NHS England published figures on so-called corridor care for the first time. Our health correspondent Rebecca Barry went to Wythenshawe Hospital in Manchester.
Over the last 6 months, ITV News has been investigating corridor care. In that time, patients have told me how being left in a hospital corridor for hours, sometimes days, makes them feel inhuman, that it denies them dignity. We also know that it is less safe. In March, NHS England finally gave it an official definition: a patient being left for at least 45 minutes in a non-clinical area. And today, for the very first time, we got the official data exposing the extent of the problem across England. On average, last month, there were almost 3,000 incidents of corridor care in England. This morning, the Health Secretary agreed to sit down with me during a visit here to Wythenshawe Hospital. If your family member or loved one had to go into hospital today, would you feel comfortable with them having to spend time in a hospital corridor?
No. I mean,
why should patients have to accept it?
They shouldn't have to accept it. And I'm absolutely determined we eradicate it, because no one should have to accept it.
As the new Health Secretary, you've got an awful lot on your plate: the doctors' strikes, maternity crisis, waiting lists. Where does corridor care rank in your list of priorities now?
Corridor care is right up there. I think it's something that really touches people across the country. I think it's an experience of the NHS which shakes people's confidence in the system.
The data will now be published each month. The government says it will send in specialist teams to the worst affected hospitals and insists they will eliminate corridor care in the next 3 years.
Health correspondent Rebecca Barry reporting there from Manchester. The World Cup is finally kicking off tonight. Our sports editor Steve Scott is in Orlando. Steve, an encouraging performance from England last night.
Yeah, you're right, Nina. I think Thomas Tuchel will be quite happy. The players have acclimatised now, 2 friendlies, 2 wins. They haven't conceded a goal. They haven't suffered any injuries. So all in all, they'll be pleased. Even the weather intervened last night, which is something they might have to get used to as this tournament goes on. But now, of course, all eyes are tonight on Mexico City. At the end of a period where it feels like FIFA might be losing its grip a little on its own tournament. Of course, one of its own referees was sent home, the most high profile of a load of visa issues, and then striking teachers in Mexico City tonight and trying to blockade routes to the stadium to try and disrupt that. Yesterday, for the first time, Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president, confronted all these issues and said FIFA was doing the best it could.
I'd always hope there are no issues, but hey, that's what we have to deal with. Some come from the United States, some from Canada, some come from Mexico. We deal with all of them and we have the same positive spirit. Hopefully we can solve all of them. Probably not, but we still do our best.
Well, usually, Nina, once the football starts at these tournaments, and this is my 5th, then everybody focuses on the football and these issues disappear. This time, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Not long to wait now. Steve Scott, thank you very much. And you can watch ITV Sports World Cup coverage kicking off with the opening ceremony tonight from 6:15. That's here on ITV1, ITVX and STV. It's followed right afterwards by Mexico versus South Africa. And finally, a century since the death of its architect, a special tribute last night at Barcelona's Sagrada Familia. Stunning fireworks illuminated the night sky behind Antonio Gaudi's Basilica. The display formed part of the celebrations for the completion of the final tower on his famous church, 144 years since building work began on it. That's all from us for now. Lucrezia is here with the evening news at the slightly earlier time of 5:45. The news where you are is next from me. Bye-bye.